Hey, Paul.
Hey guys,
What's happening?
all good, man.
Nice episode yesterday with Jonathan Fickling,
That was a convo. It was nice to catch up with him again, man.
ex-colleague, good mate of ours, and was just a nice conversation, free-flowing convo. If you want to check out that episode, do so. It's well worth it. Jono's sort of demeanor and his sort of relaxed way of things is quite contagious, and he had some interesting things to say, particularly on the agricultural side of flying, which is a side I, to be honest, know absolutely nothing about. And it sounds quite interesting. Jono is obviously involved in that, and we'll hear a bit more about that in the coming months. I think we've arranged already to get him back, maybe go a bit deeper into it. And I'm interested to hear about the flying itself, what it sort of is, any sort of safety hazards he's come across. And it's a nice, seems like an interesting side of the business.
I definitely think it's worthwhile going down and exploring that because, just in conversation just outside of the pod yesterday, I was asking him a few questions about it, and yes, there's a lot more to that industry than what meets the eye. Like you say, particularly with the flying. I can imagine you got to have your finger well out. It's quite technical, and it'd be quite cool to get more info on that. I'm pretty sure our listeners would enjoy that topic as well.
Yeah, I think so. So go and listen to that one. Only did it yesterday, so it's still fresh on YouTube there.
Yeah.
But today we're covering everything from airline routes, significant aircraft orders, to ongoing trade tensions impacting the manufacturers, and crucial updates on industry workforce challenges and some safety incidents. Starting with some regional stuff in the Middle East and Asia. We are seeing significant developments out of Saudi Arabia, as expected. Low-cost carrier. Am I pronouncing it right? Have you heard Flyadeal? Is that how you pronounce it?
Flyadeal.
Flyadeal confirmed an order for 10 Airbus A330-900 Neos. That was on the 23rd of this month. These will mark the first wide-body aircraft operated by Flyadeal since its launch in 2017, primarily using 320s beforehand. The order adds a previous deal by Saudi Group for 105 320 aircraft. That was in May last year. The arrival of the wide bodies will enable Flyadeal to explore new markets further afield and play a part in Saudi Arabia's drive to increase passenger traffic. Of course, there's a massive drive there. It's not just to do with Riyadh Air. It's all the carriers there. Flynas as well. They're getting massive. Staying there in some related news, Virgin Atlantic has launched new services connecting the UK with KSA and South Korea. That started in March, the end of March. Virgin offers daily flights to Riyadh using their 330-900. New service is timed to participate in the Saudi Vision 2030. Remember us talking about that during the lockdowns. Passengers can use the Riyadh service to connect North America via London Heathrow or through Riyadh cities in Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Virgin also expects the market to have a predominantly Saudi Arabian point of sale. So lots happening in that space. I still have never been there. Al Mac was there. He said it was pretty cool. Didn't he send us a message? At some point he was there.
I remember that,
a few years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe Al can give us some updates there.
That part of the world seems to be opening up to tourism a lot more and more.
It is. They boost it so much.
Yeah, the reason I say that is, you follow some of these YouTube influencers, particularly these guys that are like going around and trying out food from different nations. And a lot of the latest videos, you see them in places like Yemen and Iran and Iraq and all that stuff. Strange, but it kind of points towards them trying to motivate those places as almost touristy destinations.
Well, they have to, because there's nothing else. It's not like they're going to go see the Big Five there. So unless you're interested in, checking out different oil grades, there's not a huge amount to do. But if basically Dubai was like it. There's not much in Dubai. They got to make it into a tourist destination. It's a bit like, in a way, like Vegas, Disney World for adults.
Yeah.
But aircraft manufacturers and trade tensions. Ongoing trade tensions between the US and China continue to impact aircraft deliveries. 2 Boeing jets were returned to the US from China due to those tensions. Major Chinese airlines have been ordered to stop deliveries of Boeing planes. Amidst this, Air India is considering buying 737 MAX planes that were originally intended for Chinese airlines, but that are now unavailable. The airline wants to expand its fleet for its low-cost subsidiary, Air India Express. Air India previously acquired 41 MAX jets originally intended for Chinese carriers and is looking for future delivery slots opened up by the trade issues. So, as we mentioned last week, there's an opportunity there.
In anything, yeah. It's good for Boeing. I mean, it's not like they're going to potentially sit around with, massive stock on the aprons. Someone will take them. So,
yeah, the MAX, despite the stigma that it has, which is a very negative one, people forget things pretty quickly. Passenger-wise, I actually spoke to a non-aviator the other day, and he had been overseas and he was on a MAX. I said, are you happy to fly the MAX? He's like, it's not the same MAX that had they've sorted that out, they haven't they? Like, yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Sticking with Boeing and corporate strategy, Boeing plans to sell its digital aviation solution assets to Thomas Bravo for $10.55 billion. The deal includes Jeppesen, 4Flight, Air Data, and Oz Runways. The move aims to help Boeing reduce debt and focus on its core business.
That particular business sector there seems to be a bit of a hot potato because Jeppesen and 4Flight seems to change ownership every
it's a bit annoying.
Couple of years. You can't keep up with it. It really is off-pissing that 1 year you have a Jeppesen, what was it called, JetView subscription, and everything worked nicely on the iPad. Now it's changed. It's 4Flight.
It's a mess.
It's
a bit of a mess, but you wonder how much of the other nonsense they had impacted that. But it is a bit of a mess. And looking at that price, $10.55 billion, it's a significant part of their corporate strategy, that side of the business. Their CEO, Kelly Ortberg, reported a net loss of $31 billion for the first quarter, which is an improvement from last year's $355 billion loss. The company delivered 130 aircraft between January and March. Revenues increased by 18% to $19.5 billion compared to the previous year. Despite challenges like the returned Chinese aircraft, Ortberg believes Boeing is moving in the right direction and aims to increase production of the MAX and Dreamliner. So, those are some serious debt numbers. Moving to Embraer, the manufacturer delivered 30 aircraft in the first quarter, 5 more than the same period last year. The commercial aviation backlog dropped by $1.1 billion to $10 billion, but the total backlog increased by 25%. The executive aviation division saw a 28% increase, delivering 23 jets in the first quarter. Embraer also secured an order for 5 A320 Super Tucano aircraft from the Uruguayan Air Force. So things are looking good for Embraer. They also that Phenom 300 light jet. It was highlighted as a top sales pick for the luxury brand and suitability for business and family travel.
The little bit that I do know about the corporate side of aviation is it's quite a popular little area.
It is, yeah. It's by the looks of it. I didn't know a huge amount about it. Looking it up last night, and there's quite a lot of them in the States, and they own, like they said, a very nice family aircraft.
Yeah,
got to be bringing in some serious ammo to have that as your little hop around family jet. You didn't use one of those to go to Nelspruit last weekend.
No.
It would have been nice though.
It would have been cool. It would have probably would have been cheaper. Like I say, I don't know when last you've travelled down that way, but toll gates are pretty pricey. So
toll gates are.
It probably is cheaper to just organise your own private jet and take a half an hour skip down the road.
Speaking of that, how's the convo with Jono yesterday? Jono says to us, he hardly drives anywhere. He's got his aircraft right there. He jumps in his RV, and he was actually, I think next time he comes on the pod, he's going to bring the RV into OR here. He can park it right out the front here at Denell. That'll be the most stylish entrance to a podcast. The only other guy that I know that would have had as much of a stylish entry on a pod is Tony Robbins when he came on Patrick Bet-David, PBD, rocked up in
Helicopter.
A helicopter, yeah. It was Augusta or something. It looked very cool. Land in your chopper, because PBD's podcast are similar to us, also like in a hangar there by the looks of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's got the runway right out the front there.
Yeah.
So a lot of his guests that he has in,
Just fly in.
they fly in on their corporate jets, do the pod, jump on it, off they go.
We're not far behind.
We've got our own. We got better than that. We got a parallel runway, right? Yeah, we got
ILSs, everything.
No, there's no ILSs.
Oh, yeah, true. I had a good chuckle though listening to Jono yesterday as well, because he's like, no, I got my area. It's like parked right next to my kitchen, man.
Yeah,
it's like
10 meters away.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Have a cup of coffee in the morning. Check out your kitchen window. There's your area.
Yeah.
Jump in and go to work.
He's a proper aviator, Jono.
Yeah, 100%.
He was a real operator. He could operate an aircraft, that guy.
Yeah, for sure. And like true sort of stick and rudder type dude. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's hard to, you that bug bites when you start flying the stick and rudder stuff. Then you get into an airline, and it kind of gets suppressed, and then you're like, I'm not. There's no ways I'm going to go fly a light aircraft. That's how I felt. Too scary.
Yeah.
No ways. It's too scary.
Yeah,
but
I think to jump back into a small area after you've thousands of hours sitting in something big.
100%. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Shit. All right. Recent incident highlights, ongoing safety considerations. A Delta A330 caught fire at Orlando on the 21st of this month while preparing for departure with 282 packs. Passengers were quickly evacuated via emergency slides and no injuries were reported. That's rare for an evacuation that no injuries were reported. A United 787 encountered severe turbulence over the Philippines. The flight from San Francisco to Singapore, 174 packs, resulted in 5 injuries, including one flight attendant that had some serious injuries. The crew continued to Singapore. FAA is investigating. So these turbulence things are still happening, eh?
Yeah, hectic, man. I saw Cockpit Casual, Captain Bob, put a thing on, what was it, TikTok or something this morning, where they were ferrying something to South America, also trying to outclimb the turbulence. You said they were getting
Hammered.
rocked. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Ish.
In policy updates, American Airlines is changing its policy for premium packs only. Starting Wednesday, flagship first and business class travelers can enjoy in-flight entertainment without interruption right up until landing. So
people are doing that anyway.
yeah, well, they remember on the European carriers, that seems to be standard practice. So in-flight goes on and it gets interrupted by captain announcements and cabin crew announcements. But otherwise, by the time you sit in your seat, you can put the in-flight entertainment on and you can watch it right up until you're in the bay.
Yeah.
So, but remember on SAA or any of the South African carriers, you got to wait for the seatbelt signs to go off, and then you can pull out your and you can't watch anything on the SAA aircraft anyway because it's got like a CRT screen in the back of the seat of that banged out 340.
Need to ask the cabin crew for one of their VHS tapes too.
Yeah, exactly. But on these modern ones, and I'll tell you what, the modern ones are pretty cool from the perspective of, I don't know if you know this, but this last flight, I figured out, I can connect my AirPods to the Bluetooth, yeah, which is kind of cool. I didn't even know.
I mean, first of all, you don't have to put those rickety, shitty little
Yeah.
airline headphones on that have been worn by I don't know how many other people. So
Well, you say rickety and shitty. You know, a lot of them now are they got active voice reduction on
bro.
the standard ones.
premium economy only.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you're cattle class, you still get that thing that comes off a Sony Walkman.
Yeah. That by the time you wake up in your morning, your ears are aching and you're wondering why.
Yeah.
But I also found, not to diss Apple because we never do that, but my ears were quite sore having those AirPods in for
A long period of time.
yeah. So I'm gonna. What's the best headphones to buy these days? Is Bose still enough? I think Sony may have overtaken Bose. Eh?
I don't know. I haven't looked at those things for quite a while. Haven't really had to. But Bose is still top of the chart.
Do you think so?
I think so. I don't know. Maybe.
To me, if you look it up, because I thought trying to figure out what to replace. What are our Bose we bought?
QC 35.
35.
Yeah,
So there's
the
a new
latest
one.
model's 45 now.
So there's a 45, but there's also Sony. Apparently, Sony's noise reduction is better.
Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just like Bose. If I'm going to stick with the brand.
gonna stick with them.
Yeah.
How's this one? We saw a rare event on Delta from Chicago to Seattle, where the airline offered $3,000 to two passengers to give up their seats just before departure due to a weight issue. The offer increased from an initial $1,700 because no one wanted to take it, and two passengers volunteered, resulting in an 18-minute delay. I would happily put up my hand for $3,000 at the rate our economy is going. That would probably pay your bond for the next 10 years.
Yeah, it took the word right out of my mouth.
Yes, $3,000 US. Yeah, I'd accept that.
That's a pretty significant amount to be asked to. I mean, yes, you could go on a fat jaw.
Jeez, but what's 3,000? It's like 50,000 more. Hey?
What is the exchange rate now? Let me have a look.
Times
quickly.
it by 20. It's going up, probably more. But
see if I
it's
can find
significant little bit of change that you weren't expecting to get.
Yeah.
Huh?
60,000 randellas.
60,000, Chana.
Huh?
Huh?
Yo, that's a lot of beer tokens, bro.
Yeah. But we don't need those because we don't really. It's a lot of what are we buying these days?
Legos.
Legos, yeah, Legos.
That's not a lot of
Legos cost about the same as Bitcoin. Hey?
Oh.
Jeez.
Oh.
Lego's expensive. Workforce issues continue to be a topic of discussion. The Trump administration is considering changing the retirement age for ATCs to a higher number. What's it here? Currently, ATCs can retire at 50 with 20 years of service. That seems a bit low. Secretary Sean Duffy noted that the aircraft training rates of about 2,000 controllers annually doesn't keep up with retirements and suggested increasing training to 2,500 to 2,700 annually. Air travel remains very safe while this is addressed. ATC controllers are a concern around the world, no more so than in South Africa.
It just doesn't seem to be a profession that is attracting interest.
I don't think people know about it enough.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that are jumping towards that kind of career. And it's showing.
They need to do another
They need to make
Pushington 2.
I watched it again a couple of months ago just because I dig that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pushington 2, and then all of a sudden you'll check.
Pushington 2 with Bradley Cooper and
Zach Galifianakis.
yeah. Who else is cool? There's a lot of idiots in Hollywood. No more so than Katy Perry.
Oh yeah, she's an astronaut.
Yeah, she's an astronaut.
What's your take
The
on that?
world's dumbest astronaut. That chick irritates me. Eh?
Oh man,
The whole. That's why we didn't even speak about it yet. Whether or not that even happened is debatable because the landing seems so dicey, and I don't know if they're fake, but there are a lot of videos on X where someone on the inside opened the door and then they quickly closed it and then they did like a ceremonial opening of the door. If you know anything about pressurization, that door ain't opening so easy from the inside.
Not only that, yeah.
So,
I love the commentary as well. That what is it called? The Blue Origin.
Blue Origin, yeah.
Yeah, they could have come up with a better shape.
Yeah.
Because that thing's profile when it's flying.
Like a giant dildo.
Yeah, it's a big flying phallus and
Yeah. It was like that. Remember, I was like, what was it? Austin Powers. Well, that was a good movie, yeah. They don't make movies like that anymore. Jeez, have you seen the new season of Black Mirror?
No, I haven't watched it yet, bro.
Don't. You're going to be depressed afterwards.
Really?
Yes. Because it actually, you know those oaks, they were going to release a series and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And then they realized they can't actually release it because what is happening in real life is too close to what they had actually done.
It's not far-fetched enough.
Jeez,
Yeah.
but not to ruin the plot for anyone, but that first episode of the new season, give that a whirl. It's pretty hectic. Eh?
Talking about like things that are trending at the moment, this fad of creating your own boxed
Oh my God.
like toy figurine. If I see one more now,
Oh
I'm
my
gonna
God.
fucking chanda.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, things like that come out and they
It just floods the
it just
interwebs.
floods, yeah, and
It's a bit much. Yeah.
it is. Some of them were funny. The funniest one I saw was the the British Airways first officer in Joburg.
That was about the most accurate.
That was the most accurate one. But pilot hiring is returning to pre-pandemic levels with about 1,500 pilots hired in 2024. That was in the States. Drop from the previous year. Many U.S. airlines are still actively recruiting pilots and cabin crew. Demand for aircraft mechanics remains high, and pilots advised to stay current and build connections for job prospects. So there are a hell of a lot of opportunities, particularly in the U.S. As we were discussing yesterday, there's a hell of a lot of opportunities here. And I think it's up to you as an individual to decide exactly what's right for you and then push in that direction, because there are so many opportunities these days that when you and I were, looking back in 2010 for a job, there was hardly anything, and you basically took what you could get. And if you got something with a contract airline, you probably ended up in contract. If you got something in corporate, that's where you were, and there was no choice. You just took what you can. Days are different now. You take what you get, and then also there is a bit of a trend that we are seeing that's probably not mentioned enough. Not everyone goes into flying anymore necessarily with the intention of, I'm going to do this till I'm 65. A lot of guys go into it, and once they've gone and flown some modern, medium or heavy equipment, they've done it for a few years, they go and do something else. The youngsters today, that's how they do things. It's not all about...
it's not next. You're just staying in that career path forever.
No.
Yeah, it's I suppose probably because flying, particularly airline flying, isn't what it used to be 20,
No, it's not.
30 years ago, where it was like a
No.
big fat jaw.
All the captains would be fired one night and in jail.
So yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that eventually puts people off.
I think so as well.
Yeah, 5 or 6 or 7, maybe 10 years of a 48-hour layover. We were speaking about it yesterday with Jono, with the whole fatigue issue. I think it bites you eventually. So get gut full of it.
The fatigue issue today is a totally different story of the past.
Yeah.
I'd like to speak to at some point one of the older version 1 old school captains when they used to do those
Seoul
Seoul Island night stops and that.
See, that kind of
I think what
fatigue was
happened
manageable.
I think what happened in Seoul Island stays at Seoul Island. Didn't the guys have they had a boat there and
No, they were organized.
they were organized because the outgoing crew would meet the incoming crew or something like
Yeah.
that. Total debauchery.
Not only that, because we were still sanctioned back then. So, I mean,
Yeah.
everything took an extra 10 hours. So, yeah, a USA trip was, easily 15 days or something like that.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
Fatigue, not as much of a factor then.
Negative.
You've never grown. Yeah, you have actually. During COVID, you had a decent beard going.
Yeah, I went full tilt. I grew my hair out. It was probably longer than yours is at the moment.
Yeah.
And I grew my beard out. Yeah, I looked rough.
I didn't know that a lot of airlines, a beard today is an absolute no-go.
It was it was somewhat frowned upon when
Yeah.
we were at Saks.
But you know why? No, but at some airlines, it's not just frowned upon; it's a no-go item, because for years, and they've just disproven this recently. They did some research at Embry-Riddle. They found now that pilots can safely have beards without affecting oxygen mask effectiveness. Testing in hypoxia chambers showed no difference in performance or oxygen levels between bearded and clean-shaven pilots. While some airlines still ban beards, Air Canada has lifted restrictions based on these studies, and new evidence could lead to further policy changes. So it was a
thing.
It was a thing.
I think it's bullshit though.
A lot of airlines don't allow it.
I think when that mask comes on, especially those ones, that
Yeah.
it'll penetrate the beard.
Yeah. Agreed. Do you know what a digital twin is?
Negative. You're about to school me.
Yeah. These real modern day engines that you find on these Neos and all the fancy stuff, they produce a digital version of that engine. This is a very simplified way of explaining this, but I found it quite interesting. A digital twin that basically runs, and they can run it in a simulation using AI and all sorts of things to wear out where the wear and tear is going to come, when you can expect to replace things, and igniters and blades and all the rest. And they obviously, but instead of relying on actual data that we used to coming from failures, they actually run these things in simulations, and they can predict when certain components will fail or start to wear out. And that's basically when they build their maintenance program around this digital twin.
It kind of makes sense because it'll enhance the preventative maintenance actions that's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, eh?
Exactly. So it's kind of it's been a thing in aviation for a while, but the reason that I bring it up is I see there's basically we're not far off from doing this from a human body perspective as well.
Yeah.
You can go get some blood drawn and work out when Mr. Parrock might need to lay off the burgers.
I don't need a digital twin to tell me that.
Yeah. But
That's pretty cool.
In summary there, the sources highlight a dynamic aviation landscape. We're seeing significant growth, ambition, particularly in the Middle East, reflected in these new routes and aircraft orders. Trade tensions between the US and China continue to pose challenges. Manufacturers like Boeing creating unusual opportunities, such as Air India's potential acquisitions. While manufacturers are working towards recovery and strategic shifts, like Boeing's asset sale, global supply chains and trade partnerships are being reevaluated and strengthened, as shown by Saudi cargo and China cargo MOU. Workforce issues in key areas like ATC and mechanics remain critical, alongside ongoing efforts to ensure safety and improve the passenger experience. It's still an awesome industry. We've been speaking about it now going on 7 years on the pod. We've never been short of cool things to talk about. And I think what has kept it cool is aviation and technology kind of go hand in hand. And we've just had this constant flow of more and more interesting things that we've had to speak about. And to be honest, it's just becoming, there's just more and more that the industry has to offer. Some very interesting things happening on the training side of things that hopefully we can speak about in the future. But training is going to change drastically with technology.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I've seen there with my own eyes are just quite remarkable. So, yeah, it's a good place to be in the industry at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, me too, man. It's nice to be part of this this machine that doesn't stop moving.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, we shouldn't run shy of stuff to talk about in the pod.
No, we
when
won't.
it comes to this. Ja,
Cool, Paul.
lekker man.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
And we'll be back next week.
100%.
Bye for now, everybody.